You don't want to surpass. You don't want to surpass Sachin Tendulkar. You could do with 1 century.
There are always bigger winners. There are always better winners. Scope for everyone. Just another minute and then we'll get started. For sure.
Sure. I was not rushing, just joking.
No.
Right.
So for all of y'all who are putting chat messages about adding on to volunteering group or anywhere else, please write to us at info@Sahamati. And I believe some of my colleagues will be on the call. So probably if there's anything specific, they will answer to your queries. Okay, so we are at 4:04. Let's not wait for 4:05. Let's get started. So thank you very much, one and all, for coming to attend the Pragati advocacy session on a Thursday evening at 4 o'clock. It gives me, in fact, all of Sahamati, immense joy to see such kind of turnout for these sessions. Makes us believe that what we are doing is definitely on the right path. So thank you once again. Today's session is about yet another new data type in the account aggregator framework. We are going to speak about mutual funds and SIP data on the framework. In the past, we've had sessions on insurance, on, of course, lending and with on the RBI schemas as well. And this is probably the first time, yes, that we are doing any use case and schema discussion on for SEBI registered entities. So let me just tell you, we have a power-packed 2 hour, next 2 hours. We are going to start with our keynote speaker. I will introduce him in a bit to the larger audience. Giving us about a few minutes of his views on on the entire framework and the ecosystem, followed by a presentation that is going to be divided into 3 parts, beginning with an ecosystem update and followed by use cases and tech specs. And this will get over by about 5 o'clock. And after this, we are going to have 2 consecutive sessions by technology service providers in the ecosystem, active in the ecosystem, and they would be presenting to you the innovations and their products and services for the wealth management industry. So without taking any further time, let me introduce you all to our keynote speaker. For those who come from wealth management industry and the registered investment advisory industry, Harsh needs no introduction. Harsh Rungta, he is a Principal Officer Fee Only Advisors LLP. He is also the director with Association of Registered Investment Advisors in India. And apart from being a passionate startup investor, startup entrepreneur and entrepreneur at large, that's how I believe he would want to, that's how he feels about being associated with startups and entrepreneurship. He also brings with him a large ocean of wisdom on the advocacy business. Advocacy for a customer, advocacy for the professionals in this business as well. And beyond that, of course, he is a torchbearer of digital public goods in India. So without taking any more time, Harsh, over to you.
Thank you, Ruchi. And welcome everyone. And I think seeing 100 people here is a real, it's a testimony to the importance, I think, that all of us already feel about the entire account aggregator system. I mean, mutual fund data coming on board is yet another milestone, and we are going to see many milestones in this journey that India has undertaken to create, digital infrastructure on a population scale. I mean, we started with the identity, population scale identity layer, which was the Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, and the mobile Trinity. We've built a UPI on top. Already, I think those two things have given rise to so many applications. You see them now everywhere, in almost every field, including education, health, and of course, finance and wealth. And I think one more that is going on top of that is the account aggregator. And again, all of these are very uniquely made in India, made for India at a population scale that's the largest in the world. Like, it works for a population of that scale. And I think what that does is that even, the foundation was laid by, say, the identity layer, and the ground floor, you could say, was the payment layer that, say, the UPI represents. And I think account aggregator is going to be a very important first floor again. And it's not limited, although currently everything that we see is basically financial services, but obviously with the client at the center and based on client consent, availability of verified data from independent sources is something that will give rise to so many applications. The mind really boggles at the kind of things. Even if we just stick to, say, the profession that I know very well, let's look at the wealth advisory profession. And the reason why people in the wealth advisory profession, such as myself, are so excited. One of the things about the investment advisory profession is that we are an elitist profession. The costs of dealing with clients, the cost of data gathering, the cost of doing a lot of things, the operating costs are so high, and that prevents us from offering our services to, what I would say, retail players. That is what is getting cracked wide open by the account aggregator framework. Think of all the things that we can do now. A client comes online, a retail client, a truly retail client, they come online, they give consent for the data, all the data can be gathered. It's not just mutual funds, right? You have bank details, transaction details, mutual funds, insurance, pension, EPF, GST, income tax. Look at that amount of data that allows you to create a profile, couple that with risk profiling that can be done online, couple that with goals that the client can input online, and you have the ability to actually, on the fly, be able to give back an existing asset allocation, a recommended asset allocation, depending on the goals, risk-taking ability, etc. I mean, really, it is something that will change the way this profession is working. It will open it out to more retail players, and it will really democratize investor advisory services. But this is not just about investment advisory. It is not just about the mutual fund data. So today, even if I stick to mutual fund data, today, to get the mutual fund data, we really have to, for prospects, we have to order it. It goes to the client, then it comes to us, then you work on it. There are a lot of intermediate steps, a lot of fallouts, a lot of time is taken. All that can be avoided when it becomes completely operational. And look at the other, look at any aspect of financial services. I mean, you can look at insurance needs analysis. Okay, I think being able to do that with data is something that really would be something that will change how we do. And eventually, when the data protection bill comes up, and this can get extended to far more sectors than just be limited to the financial sector, I think we will really see a change, which is already taking place. The change that is taking place, I would make it akin to a person joining a large organization. His first few days, we are like that. We see that there is a lot of frenetic action happening, but you are not part of it. You are still sitting on the sidelines, but you can see clearly that there is a lot of frenetic action happening. And suddenly, one fine day, that slow pace of furious change that catches up with you, and you are in that current. And this change is something that's really going to change India. And when India changes, the world clearly changes. So again, that gives you a reason why we are so excited. As our per capita income moves towards that magic $5,000 per capita, a lot of discretionary services in all areas, including in financial services, are going to become needed, are going to be needed. As the population ages, those services are going to be needed. And that is where it will, a population scale digital infrastructure like the account aggregator will help in launching many of those services and making sure that the population can benefit from it. So thank you everyone for coming, and I can see that we are 165 people. So wow, I'm really impressed.
Thank you so much, Harsh. Thank you so much. Of course, it's a matter of time, and the presentation that we are going to show, which, like I said, begins with an update on the ecosystem. It will show in the last 2 years from about 11 banks at the time of going live in September to now, where we are with nearly 75 banks as FIPs and 231 as FIUs. We've come a long way, and like you said, when I was saying the reference to the ocean has been made very correctly by you, that there will be that big sea of change, that big oceanic movement that will happen, exponential growth that we will see in the next few years to come. So thank you very much, Harsh, for your pearls of wisdom. I'm sure everybody has benefited from it. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of a technical glitch in between, because of which like KP said, the magic number of 100 got stuck. So now we are at 181, and I think there are more people to join. So thank you very much, everyone. So moving on now, we will be going on to the main presentation. I will be running you all through an update on the ecosystem, what are the numbers, how far we've come, what is in it for everybody, and followed up with a presentation on the use cases and the tech specs, which will be taken up by Vignesh Kumaran. He is head of products in KFin Technology. So please allow me to share my screen. Just a moment. Yes. Is everyone able to view my screen? Can thank you very much. Okay. For those, I would request you all to please mute yourselves, please. Okay. So for those of y'all who have attended Sahamati advocacy sessions in the past, this might seem a little bit of a repetition. However, for the ones who are new and attending probably for the first time, it's an important information to know. It's basics on account aggregator, where and how far we have come from right from the initial days. So this slide basically talks about the Indian population and the penetration of mobile and internet connection and banking right to the lowest strata of the country. We are a huge population, as we see, and we also witness that there is a considerably good penetration of mobile and internet connection. Today, we have nearly 900 million Aadhaar seeded bank accounts and more than 1 billion mobile phone subscribers. More than 800 million broadband subscribers. And yet, on the other side, we as financial services providers are not getting a big chunk of this population. Insurance penetration is still low at single digits. There is unmet formal credit demand of almost 25 lakh crores that exists today in the country. And of course, on the securities and investment sides as well, we are at single digits, having demat accounts alone of less than 10% in the country. So less than 10% of the entire population has demat accounts. So while the population is large, it's young, but access to financial services is still a huge challenge. I would request you all to please put yourselves on mute.
Ruchi, you can mute all as the option there.
Okay. All right, so I will move on now. Yeah. So moving on to India Stack. India Stack, Harsh also touched upon this in a small way. India Stack, we all relate to it as Aadhaar, as UPI, and as now the account aggregator. India Stack is typically 3 layers. The starting layer is the identity layer, which, like I said, we identify as Aadhaar. Each of us have now an Aadhaar number, which is like an identity given to us as individuals and citizens of this country. There's also e-sign and e-KYC, which is a part of the identity layer. There is the payments layer, which we famously link with the Unified Payments Interface, UPI. UPI, as we already know, has seen huge growth in this country, especially over the last 3-4 years during pandemic, when nearly a large population started using digital payments as the preferred mode of payment. So today, as we speak, more than 60% of the population uses UPI, which is almost almost the entire population leaving some kind of a digital print. The data empowerment layer, which we call now as the account aggregator layer, and you will get to know more about it as we progress in the presentation. There are also some cooperative ops like OCEN, which is Open Credit Enablement Network, National Health Stack, Open Network for Digital Commerce, Digital Ecosystem for Skilling and Livelihood, which are also layers that are making these are layers that are making interoperability easy between various data types. All right, so moving on to the most famous infographic of account aggregator. Now, account aggregator, if you ever Google account aggregator, this is the infographic that you will come across, which very easily explains what account aggregator ecosystem is all about. Just a moment. On the right, you will see financial information users. Financial information users are organizations that will need data. I think I will.
Ruchi, just mute everyone on mute.
I think Ruchi, you can mute all the users from your end.
Just a moment, please.
Yeah.
Anishnu Andaloda.
Can you all please go on mute? I just muted everybody. It's the second time I'm muting everyone. Gets unmuted. Okay, I think this should work now. Okay. Right. So on the right side, so a typical journey of account aggregator starts with the customer usually going to a financial information user or a financial company that provides any product or service to for his or her own need. So on the right side, you will see organizations that need the data of the customer for any of these use cases. So it could be for providing loan, it could be for personalized insurance, it could be for personal finance management, wealth management, so on and so forth. They come on the right side as financial information users because they need the data of the customer to provide the product or the service that the customer has needs or rather has requested. On the left side, you will see financial information providers or also the custodians of the data of the customer. So today, banking data, the banking data, the transactions that I've done in my bank account are with the banks, and banks become custodians of my cash flow data. We see mutual fund houses, AMCs, insurance providers, GST tax returns on the left side as financial information provider. In the center, you see consent manager or the account aggregator. All these three entities are registered, regulated entities. So financial information users and providers are regulated by their respective regulator. One of the four regulators could be IRDA, PFRDA, SEBI, and RBI. Consent managers, which is the account aggregators, are registered and regulated by RBI as NBFC AA. That's the license type. Now, this entire flow is therefore completely regulated. All three data handling entities come under a particular regulator, and the consent is provided by the customer. So movement of data, or rather movement of request for data and movement of data, does not happen without the consent of the customer. So you see how there is arrow showing a request of data that is made by the consent manager to the FIP through open APIs, and the data comes back from the FIPs to the FIU in an end-to-end encrypted fashion via the account aggregator, who is data blind. So this is an extension of the previous slide. Okay. On the right side, therefore, the financial information uses that we see are small ticket, short tenure MSME credits. We see personal loans. We also see people who are new to credit, that is new, probably taking a loan for the first time, auto loans, home loans, insurance, demat account opening, personal finance management, wealth management, asset rebalancing, etc. On the left side, we see financial information providers, of course, banks and NBFCs today no, because deposit-taking NBFCs are financial information providers, non-deposit taking NBFCs are not. Because as per the master directive, it's only the asset information that the financial information providers are eligible to provide. Mutual fund houses, AMCs, insurance providers, NPS, tax data. So GST, of course, we all must be in the know-how of Rebit releasing GST specs. We can expect some good news coming in the next few weeks. When it comes to CBDT, EPFO, DigiLocker, these are all at initial stages of evaluation of the framework, and so what is going to be the possible live date is something we will not be able to gauge right now, but definitely the good news is that evaluation has started. So we feel that account aggregator, which we call as a foundational digital public good, has immense benefits both for the citizen and for the market players. For the citizen, of course, it is seamless, it's convenient, it's secure way of sharing data from one entity, from the custodian of my data to the person I'm going to for a new product. Uh, because of low cost of doing this business and the ease of doing this business, there is access to even small loans. So small time loan, small ticket loans will be easily accessible without a need of showing any of my other investments or as a collateral or insurance. It, of course, provides an integrated view of the financial health to the customer. And it also allows me to get better products and services from insurance providers, from wealth management companies, because data is easily available. They are able to provide better product as per my need. For the market player, of course, there are lower drop-off rates because it's completely machine readable, it's encrypted, it is digitally signed by the custodian of the data. So there are definitely lower drop-off rates on loans, and it's quick. Of course, lower drop-off rates also relates to how quickly data reaches from the provider to the user. So giving very little opportunity to the customer to probably come out of the relationship, because he or she doesn't have to go collecting PDFs or providing internet access, etc. 0% fraud, trusted data for better financial risk assessment, lower operating cost, unlike the current scenario or before, where organizations. So all of this digital data today, whether it is my Aadhaar data, whether it is my PAN data, etc., it is available digitally with some with some provider or the other. However, for a business to make a digital flow for a customer is high on cost, high on operating cost, because of the various integrations that they need to make. Of course, in the absence of the integration, then it is a completely offline flow. With account aggregator and the cross-sectoral nature of account aggregator, there is no need of multiple integrations. For a business, it provides a very low operating cost system where business will be able to accept applications for even small ticket products and even manage higher volumes. Of course, access to wider market and increase in insurance and credit penetration, lower default rates, higher renewal rates, and claim settlement ratios, because data is easily accessible. Validation of customer profile is quick. So all of that leads to a lower default rate, better, quicker and cleaner operations, better data analytics, of course. And we also see a good takeoff on PFM wealth management, the reason why we are here today, robo-advisory and all of that. So just to give you a perspective of how far we have come, in 2016 is when the first master directive, in September 2016, is when the first master directive was released by RBI, the account aggregator master directive. From September 2016, of course, afterward, gradually there was the tech specs, the electronic consent framework that was released. The tech standards were released. Eventually, the sandboxes were released. So from 2016 September cut to September 2021, when we went live with 8 banks. Sorry, initially I mentioned 11 banks. It was actually 8 banks in September 2021 when AA ecosystem went live with a keynote speech by the RBI Deputy Governor. So from 2016 to 8 banks going live on September 2021 to today, after June 2023, precisely 13 July 2023, where we are seeing 11 operational account aggregators. We are seeing 75 FIPs, 231 FIUs, more than 70-80 TSPs who are in the ecosystem. So the ecosystem has grown. It has grown multifold, and we see this a point coming where there will be exponential hit or exponential rise, not just in the participants of the ecosystem, but also the citizens and the individuals and businesses at large. A quick snapshot of where we are in terms of numbers. We have 1.13 billion bank accounts that have the facility of taking account aggregator. We are seeing 13.76 million successful consents shared. From August 2021 till today, we have 13.76 million successful consent shares, successful consents shared. A 28% month-on-month growth. Today we are on 13th July, and from the last number of June 30th, 13.76 to July 13th, we are already at a very promising figure, which will get released at the end of the month through our newsletter. But and of course, it's always available on our website as well. But we are already seeing a good promising number, so which goes to show that the graph is upward moving continuously. So, yeah. Also, we spoke about the cross-sectoral nature of account aggregator. It is truly seeing the light of day today. We have, like I said, 75 FIPs who are live. These 75 FIPs are divided across all the entities across all the 4 regulators. So we see banks, we see insurance companies, we see depositories, we see AMCs, we see pension CRAs as well. The types of use cases or the types of data that is available live on the AA framework today includes deposits, term deposits, recurring deposits, equity shares, mutual funds, insurance policies, ULIPs, balances under NPS, and mutual funds and SIPs. And of course, very soon, GST information is also going to come. So we have also seen some very exciting use cases, across all the 231 financial information users that are live in the ecosystem. We've seen personal loan, home loan, auto loan, MSME loan, education loan spike up quite a good number. We are seeing bank account verifications being used for onboarding, Demat account opening, personal finance management, pension account opening, income estimations. So in terms of use cases also, we have grown quite from where we started to now has been a very good growth. So we have 11 operating account aggregators today. All of us can go on any of their systems, apps, web-based or app-based, and download their apps, register ourselves to create an account aggregator handle. All of that information is available on our website. We also have another 6 account aggregators who are in principally approved, waiting to become operational. So with that, it should give you a good perspective of where the account aggregator ecosystem is, where we all started from, what it means for everybody. Without taking any further time, let me ask Vignesh to join us and take us through the topic of the day, which is the mutual fund use cases and a small demonstration, along with some tech specs. Vignesh, are you there? 1 second.
Hello. Thanks, Ruchi. I think there was some problem in unmuting.
Okay. No problem. So I'll just a moment, Vignesh. I'll just share my screen again.
So first of all, while she brings up, good evening, everyone, and thanks for showing your interest in understanding how a ecosystem can help the mutual fund industry as well as the other participants who can take benefit out of the data from the mutual fund industry. So we'll try to cover as much as possible in terms of the use cases that we could think of from the data that we get from account aggregator, both from MF as an industry and what MF industry can offer to the other participating ecosystem. And we will also cover up the data points that currently is available on the account aggregator ecosystem from mutual fund. The first use case that we thought about mutual fund industry is how do we simplify the onboarding process of customers. So today, while we onboard a customer, one area where the customer has to have multiple directions is in terms of bank account validation. While we as an industry has adopted penny drop or penniless process for validating a customer's account, it has its own limitations. Today, the success rate of these models is somewhere around 80%. When the customer is not able to successfully verify himself through penny drop, we ask them to provide a check copy, and the check copy is being manually validated by the back office person before the customer has been onboarded. And we complete the entire transaction journey. This process of bank account validation is important for any financial product, not just for mutual fund, for any financial product where we need to validate the bank account of the customer to avoid any sort of third-party payments or to ensure the final output of money flows into the right customer's account. So with account aggregator, this process can be simplified and can be brought to a greater success, because here, when the customer is authorizing a particular bank, it is the bank who provides the bank details of the customer, including the account number and the customer details. So since the bank is providing the details, which can avoid further validation of records from the customer. So this process will help us to create close to 100% success rate. But currently, this process is not enabled because banks, as well as even in case of insurance or mutual fund, we are masking the account number, which will be unmasked in the version 2.0 of the Revit framework, which is currently the framework is in development. This is going to help us in terms of changing the industry big time. And maybe today while we talk, it is not all the banks who are participating, but all the major banks who are participating into the industry. Roughly about 6 to 7 banks in the MF industry covers close to 90-95% of the overall investment flowing into the industry. And these banks would be are already entered into the AA ecosystem, which will cover the overall mass. We will have some spillover, but this will get covered up over a point of time. Because what I believe is this is one more UPI moment for banks. Maybe initially very few banks participated, and today there is no bank or wallet company who's not without an UPI account. So this is something which is a maturity cycle, like the way what Ruchi showed in the past over last few years, how this entire ecosystem transformed itself, and now the vigor is even more higher. So we expect this to be even faster in terms of closure. And the cost of this particular mechanism of penny drop, which is currently say rupees X, because it differs, can be reduced by at least 50 to 75% using the account aggregator ecosystem, because you have a direct connectivity to validate from the bank account itself. Ruchi, you can move to the next use case.
Doing it, huh? Vignesh, 1 second. Suddenly just, okay. Yeah, can you see it now, Vignesh?
Yeah. So the second process, again, this is while we try this for mutual fund ecosystem, this process can also be extended to any customer, any sort of customer who are in the process of doing a credit reconciliation. In case of mutual fund, most of the people would be from the industry or have a participating role in the industry. So today, when the fund gets into an AMC's account, how an RTA or an AMC will validate the credit of your funds? They generate the PDF of the respective entity's bank account statement. that is being transformed through an OCR into a machine recognizable format, then we do a credit matching. And wherever the credit matching doesn't do, there is a manual process of manually mapping the credit. Probably in some of the cases, either you or for your customers, you must have got situations where the customer has given the funds, but the unit allocation or the SOA is not generated immediately. That will happen on the next day afternoon or in the evening, because there could have been some delay in the credit reconciliation time. Now would have been still on the applicable MEV, but it is only the SOA generation after credit recon would have got delayed. This is the current challenge today the industry is running on. With account aggregator ecosystem, so since you will be in a position to directly get a machine readable format of data from the banker on the applicable AMC's statement, we will be in a position to do the reconciliation much faster. Again, this thing is currently not applicable in the current framework. The reason being is, in the current framework, it is only the individual who got added. In the next, in the subsequent releases, we will be also adding the non-individual entities. At that point of time, this is going to support not just mutual fund industry, any industry, for example, insurance, even to some extent the e-com industry for doing the merchant payments would be using this facility in terms of doing a faster recon. Faster recon is going to give a better customer experience of the services, because customer will get the service notified much faster, and lesser service queries would be there in this case. The next use case is something which typically all of us in the industry would have faced in terms of any sort of recurring investment which goes to the customer. We will be sending a reminder to the customer. We don't know what exactly is the bank account balance of the customer. This could be avoided using account aggregator use case. This is even applicable with the current banks which has got participation into it. For example, there are few triggers that we will be doing to collect money from the customers. It can be a drawdown initiative from AF, or it can be an SIP installment, or it can be any other payments which come for other industries also. So here, instead of sending a communication and bothering the customer too much in terms of having a money to be managed every time, rather we can verify whether the customer has enough balance in his bank account or not. Provided when he does not have enough balance, we can notify the customer to source the fund, so that the financial commitment does not get bounced. Because when any transaction is getting bounced, it is not just an impact only for the manufacturer, it is even an impact for the customer. Because, for example, for every single NASH mandate bounce, the customer is charged somewhere around 250 to 400 rupees based on respective banks. So this could have been avoided, and this also creates a better service. Even the same service can be used by RIAs in terms of collection of their annual advisory fee from the customer when they present the mandates. Even that could be an use case here. So this will help us in terms of reducing the bounces, reducing the cost of communicating to the customer or bothering the customer too much in terms of keeping the money intact for various investment. We can have a pooled level information which will be there. The next use case is on the wealth industry. When we had the keynote speaker mentioning this thing, how easily this is going to transform the overall industry. So currently, if a customer is supposed to be evaluated, either you go by the face value of what is the customer giving an information, or the second way of getting the information is asking the customer to submit the cash statement, where you can review the customer's cash statement. And when you ask for a cash statement, you have to ask the customer every time to submit the cash statement. There is an involvement of the customer in every fetch of cash statement. But with account aggregator, you can ask for a consent window, which is for a longer period. Probably if my commitment with you as an advisor is for 5 years, we got into an agreement, contractual agreement. In those cases, we can have a daily or a weekly frequency in which you can pull the records of the customer, with which you can analyze the customer's portfolio and help them in terms of rebalancing it, or any actions to be performed on his portfolio to achieve the end goal which you have agreed with the customer. So this will give you a broader picture, and with this you can also add other asset classes also in similar fashion, which can give an overarching view of the customer. There are multiple ways you can analyze the same data. Either you can analyze the customer's data at a mutual fund basis, which give you a lump sum, or tomorrow you can analyze only the customer's behavior on SIP, and you can create or curate the products respectively to the customer. Yeah, Ruchi, there are a few cases that you can perform on an analytics basis also. For example, if you wanted to analyze a customer's bank account statement and SIP, when I say bank account statement, I'm referring to the RD investments of the customer as well as the SIP investment of the customer. You will be having a broader view in terms of what is the customer's monthly financial commitment you can take. And based on that, you can plan the finances much better. With this, you can even curate some of the products. For example, let me say a customer is having an SIP of 10,000 rupees every month, and he's having an RD of 5,000 rupees every month, and he does not have any sort of lump sum investment which he makes. So tomorrow when you're selling another product, so basically you can define or profile a customer as a person who is willing to take a steady monthly commitment rather than creating a one-time commitment. So when you're selling, say, an insurance product here, you can curate the customer, directly pitch him a monthly plan. Probably the chance of him accepting the mode of subscription option would be much higher than giving a lump sum, then cutting and giving an option of a monthly product. Or this can even work vice versa. This data is even applicable for a broader industry perspective also, especially some of your customers, you must have got to understand, they don't have any credit history. Their credit score would have been 0, but they would have got a decent investment. Today, banks are willing to consider this data of your monthly financial commitment. Say, for example, a customer who's having a 10,000 rupees SIP, he wants to take a loan, but he does not have a credit card or not a existing credit history. Today, his loan application could have got rejected. Instead, if the analysis of mutual fund investment says this person is having an investment of 10,000 rupees in MF, but he wants to take a loan just for a shorter period, he does not want to disturb the investments, then probably bank can take this as an assurance saying that somebody continuously making 10,000 rupees investment for the last 5 years has a better chance of repaying the loan. So probably I am willing to give him a loan rather than not rejecting his loan application, which could have, on the other way, could have led in terms of redemption in his investment to meet his financial needs. There is a very high proximity today of users trying to use loan against mutual fund. So lending space has become so wide, and a lot of people are looking at mutual fund as a viable medium for creating a loan product, because this is one of a mortgage product where the risk of liquidation is very, very low. For example, if I wanted to buy a car, if I wanted to buy a house, yes, it is being properly backed by value of this particular asset, but it is difficult for the financier to liquidate it. You cannot liquidate in 3 days like a mutual fund. So today there is a digital lending process which has kickstarted, where a lot of participants we are engaging today as an RTA, and including from MF Central, which is a joint venture between KFinTech and CAMS. We are providing the solution where a lot of financiers are involving to give the loan against mutual fund. But for a financier to understand what is the initial eligible value or curate a product or bring interest from the customer, they can use this data to understand what is the eligible value of loan that I can offer to this customer, and they can bring in the customer. The next thing is on the insurance product, you can see the customer's behavior of how the customer is behaving in mutual fund asset class. And if you wanted to create a product strategy, which could be a right fitment, understanding the customer profile, that is also possible with this data. Now coming to what is the data today that we provide in terms of the mutual fund on the account aggregator system. Yes, the data what we provide here is something similar to the CAS system, but whenever you ask for a CAS, the difference between the CAS ecosystem and the account aggregator ecosystem is every time the customer is supposed to get involved when you need a CAS statement. Whereas in case of an account aggregator ecosystem, the customer can give you a longer consent to you as an advisor, and the customer, you can fetch the customer's data and you can review it whenever you wanted to in a periodic cycle. Coming to the data point which is available. So we have categorized the data into 4 different segments: profile information, holding summary, transaction data, and SIP data. For example, profile information will give you the customer's basic information like PAN, email, mobile, KYC status, folio numbers, nominee details, etc. When it comes to a holding statement, it is a summary level data. You will get to know the customer which AMC has invested in, scheme investments, NAV, closing units, registration information. If any scheme has a lock-in units or any scheme has a lock-in period, like a closed-ended funds, those information would be given. In case of transaction data, which is equivalent to your detailed account aggregator statement, which will give you the entire set of data in which how the units have got accumulated. And the last data set is SIP. While we see the customer data in an overall fashion, we will also give you how he's behaving on an SIP as a channel. So how many installment the user has committed, how many installment out of that has got completed, what is the SIP value, which date he is investing on an SIP, so that you know his pattern of investment or salary date, etc. very closely. Installment day, how many installments are pending from here, when was his last installment and when is his next installment. So if your last installment, say you'll be in a position to understand whether recently has paused the SIP or not, or cancelled the SIP or not. So those informations would be available, which will give you a complete view of the overall investor portfolio. And today on MF ecosystem, the FIPs will be AMCs and RTAs, and FIUs can be any of the participating members, which has been approved by the REBIT framework, which is any SEBI regulated advisors, RBI regulated entities like banks, NBFCs, etc., insurance advisors, pension advisors. So all these people would become typically the participating members of this ecosystem. Currently, the data that we provide in this ecosystem is only for the single holders, and the type of users will be individuals or sole proprietor, which is kind of similar, and the data points we have just discussed in the past. So the way in which you will be linking these data would be PAN and mobile based tagging, where customers' PAN and mobile should match, because typically you would see a mobile number is the primary key in the account aggregator ecosystem. But when you go to the respective FIPs have also adopted one more secondary ID, which they will match it before giving the data, because mobile number could have been a common number used between the family members also. We wanted to know which PAN is supposed to be linked. So it's a combination of PAN and mobile number ke saath we are trying to take the authorization for consent layer. Yes, Ruchi.
Yeah, I think we move to the schema now, Vignesh. You'll have to share your screen.
You have to permit me, Ruchi.
Yeah. It is permitted actually.
Yeah, now I got it.
Just, yeah. Just to let you all know, we are running a little behind schedule, but please hold on. All the interesting bits are also, even the next half of the presentation is interesting. So please be seated. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ruchi. So before we jump into the schema, we thought we'll make a quick view in terms of how this consent management linking everything happens. So we have created a dummy advisory company here just for the sake of understanding. So when the customer first logs in, he will be giving the name, mobile number, and PAN number of the people. And with this, we'll be sending an OTP. So currently here we are using one of the account aggregator, which is OneMoney, and the OTP has been sent by the account aggregator. So here, while FIP and the FIU are exchanging the data, there is a key role played by the account aggregator who manages the entire consent data. So once the entire approval has happened, so here there is a listing which happens where we display the entire list of possible participants in the ecosystem. We have put in some name just for the example sake. So whichever account aggregator, whichever FIP is going to be linked, an OTP will be sent by the respective FIP for you to link the account. In this case, initially we saw how a State Bank of India would have done. Next thing is going to KFin Technologies, where a folio would have been created. So here the advantage, what we try to do out here is, in case of RPAs, we are trying to create the consent mechanism for whatever is the AMCs managed at that RTA level, so that assume today KFin, whatever is the funds which has been managed by KFin Tech will send a single OTP so that you can link all the OTPs, all the investments which has been managed under the AMC service by KFin Tech. So once the data has come in, so then it is up to the imagination of the FIU, how they want to conceive the data, how they wanted to curate the data and show to the customer. So currently we have done two linkages of two different FIPs, which is bank and mutual fund. You see that data. Similarly, the ecosystem is building where you can add your stocks from NSDL, CDSL, or your pension records or your insurance records. Those information can be curated and you can display the investments in the style you want. So now let me go to the back end of it, which is the most important aspect in terms of what is the information that today we showcase as a FIP to you so that you can build your information. As I said, the basic information of customers like name, mobile, PAN, email, all these details will be there. The important aspect comes from the holding information, which is the AMC name, the registrar, which is CAMS or KFin Tech, the scheme code, ISIN number, AMFI code, folio number, FATCA info, FATCA status, closing units, if any liens are there, NAV date, lock-in units, scheme options, which is whether the scheme is in a growth, dividend reinvestment or dividend payout, scheme type. So few of the items are currently not there. For example, scheme category is not there. ISIN number is not there, which will be added very soon. In the current output, if you will be getting it, will not be there, but we will be adding it very soon. So your start date, end date of your investments, your transaction ID, your AMC which you have invested. So the NAV in which you have bought in the units, is there any lock-in days? Is there a lock-in flag? All the narrations, all these informations would be available. So with this, you wanted to create a specific output format in terms of now you know what is the NAV in which the scheme has been bought, what is the NAV in which a scheme has been sold. And currently, the existing model, we are serving the customer transaction data for lifetime. But however, considering the kind of data which could be consumed, we are considering to reduce this transaction down to last 2 financial years. So this will have a shortened data, but the data set remains same. And still your summary information will be there where you can curate the data. Now coming to the information available for SIP. In case of SIP, I'll again skip the profile information data, which is similar. You will be getting to know, I'll get into data which is very SIP specific information. You will get to know what is the amount the user has opted in for, what is the frequency, because frequency can be multitude. It can be monthly, it can be quarterly, yearly, even some could give you a daily SIP. So what is the current status of it? What is the installment date? Whether the installment date is 1st, 5th, 7th, whatever it is. Number of pending installment. What is my commitment? Maybe my commitment is for 10 years. I have another 5 years which is due for the commitment. How much is the SIP completed? The same example, I would have already completed 5 years, and ahead of me, I have got another 5 years of SIP. What is the last date of installment, which could be, say, 2028, or whatever is the date given by the customer, or here if the customer is opting for a perpetual SIP, etc. And what is the next installment date? Why next installment date could be tricky here is, suppose if the customer has meantime paused an SIP, the next installment date cannot be the next month starting date. If the customer has paused the SIP for 6 months, this could have been a date after 6 months, which will be the date which will show. And what is the creation date of the SIP? And if the SIP has got paused or ceased in between due to various reasons, either because of the bounces, typically AMCs cancel your SIP, or because for various other reasons in terms of any of the compliance reasons, whatever it is, you will see the cease date. So by seeing this thing, you can always say the customer in terms of how does he reopen the SIP, or how does he continue the SIP. So this is the information which currently we are providing in form of an SIP data. And
yes, so that brings us to the end of the schema discussion. We have in the last 1 week asked some of you all to give in your questions, any questions that you may possibly have for this presentation. So I'll be just flashing those questions. Most of them are answered through our presentation, but just putting it out for you all to see for the others to see the kind of questions that people have asked us. So just to let you all know, the data that we get, as Vignesh has already shared, is raw data. Any derived calculation has to be done at the end of the FIU. So what is going to come is the line items, the date, what Vignesh shared, the data lines that Vignesh shared is all completely raw. So therefore, the questions like, do we get, rate of returns, or do we get any average prices, is not coming through this data. It has to be done at the end of the FIU. Vignesh, would you like to also come in at this point? Would you like to say anything? Yeah.
So, right. So initially, since it's a quarterly data of the customer, this can be taken, because at the transaction data, as we showed, we will show the buy and sell information of the customer. With this, you can derive how much is the quarterly redemptions the customer has made, because you have the scheme related info also. And you can have the investment information. So this is something which has to be derived, and the data points are available as part of the schema.
So risk profiling, of course, is not available today from the schema. Do we get returns over the last 2 years edited in the form of a performance graph, or it is raw data? We said it is raw data. How much of it is tax saving funds out of the portfolio which is locked in to check overall liquidity?
So as we showed, the lock-in schemes and the lock-in value is being displayed in the schema. The schemes which are logged in, for example, if you wanted us to categorize what is logged in because of it, the scheme is ELSS or close-ended, doesn't come in this model, but you will be always managing a scheme master at your end, which can help you to match this data, or you can take help from the RTA for it.
The next one, I guess mutual funds are registered based on PAN card and not registered on mobile number. If they are registered with PAN card, how does the consent request in AA platform work? So it is a combination of mobile number and PAN card today. If a particular folio doesn't have mobile number attached to it, then it will not get discovered.
Right.
What mutual fund data would be fetched? We said buy sell data, or all transactions, profile information, summary, and also SIP data. Does the data show rate of returns? So this is derived information. This doesn't come as part of raw data. Bifurcation of category of mutual funds, debt funds versus equity funds. Vignesh, which line? It is the scheme code that mentions.
It is currently managed based on scheme code, but we will be adding the scheme category also very shortly in the next version. which will help them to directly get the information from the data itself, which will be under the SEBI scheme categorization. So before we move to the next question, Ruchi, we have got a lot of questions on the chat. Just if you allow me to take quickly a few questions. So in terms of the investment details, which is coming in the schema, will have only the units which are held in the physical format. The demat holding formats would be available from the data that you will be taking from NSDL and CDSL as an FIP. That is also almost like ready or for life. And we don't have any sort of information which is very broker specific information. The details will be broadly on the customer level, not at a distributor level. So instead of you know the information of investment which is under you, the rest all information you can consider as the overall portfolio. With this, you can derive the held away portfolio of the customer. Yeah, Ruchi, maybe we can go to the question. I think the other questions are getting repeated.
Right, 1 minute. Okay. So it says, does CAS data contain STT tax?
No, currently we don't have tax. Probably it's a very valid point. Maybe we can consider in one of our working committee if we can consider providing a capital gain as an additional information from the AA ecosystem.
So somebody asked about for this presentation. This presentation and the Excel that you see would be available on our website in the next few days, along with a recording of this presentation. Okay. Will this document get shared? Okay.
Ruchi, you have stopped sharing your screen.
Yes, I stopped sharing my screen because all that was on derived data. So when we put up the presentation, we'll put up our answers over there also.
Sure.
CAS state. Is SIP data available now in current FI mutual fund schemas? It is available.
Currently, I'll give you the status. Yes, it is available. We just got few AMCs onboarded now, but a lot of AMCs are yet to give the confirmation letters, which they are in the advanced stage. A lot of agreements are in the final draft for them to sign it. So maybe in next 15-20 days or maybe under a month's time, we should have most of the AMCs in the participation of AA.
Why can't all the FIP be shown with the folio name for customer to get or fetch the data easily?
So currently we are showing the folio number in a masked format, and the name is only as per the customer because it's a combination of PAN. So we don't have the second PAN possibility itself. So the folio which has been masked, which also will get unmasked along with all the other FIPs, which is a PI information considered, but we have a lot of feedback coming from market. This is something very important for them to use it. So we will be unmasking these informations.
So just another couple of questions we'll take. Will we get to know the advisor broker code from where the SIP is registered?
We will not have it since the data is at a customer level. It is not at a distributor or an advisor specific data. So we will not get those information.
Will we get non-financial transactions also as part of the schema?
No,
and what about
the schema doesn't give non-financial transaction, because initially when Rebit created the framework, the idea was to service the customer more from the holding investment perspective. Hence, that does not give us the scope of adding any sort of non-commercial transaction.
Okay. And why transaction data reduced to 2 years?
So because there's a lot of cost and load on the FIPs. Parallelly, we are currently, the model in which the FIPs are operating are in terms of servicing the customer. There is no revenue model which has been arrived, which Samati along with the industry ecosystem is working. Once that has been cracked, then probably we will be in a position to support with all the required infra support to give a long range data.
Do we also get contact information at folio level?
Yes, we do have contact information at folio level.
Okay. I think for the paucity of time, we will have to stop here with the questions. We are at 5:12 now, so we are about 12 minutes late. What we will do is we will share our email ID, and you can reach out to us with your questions, and we will try to answer them to the best of our ability in the next few days, if that is okay. There are important questions, definitely, but I think we do have a paucity of time right now. So we will have to take that up separately. Is that okay, Vignesh? Vignesh? Okay, are you all able to hear me? Okay. Okay. Okay, so I think now we'll move on to the next bit of the presentation, the presentation today. I hope you all found this session to be helpful. I am sure, because I do see a lot of questions, and it's deepest apologies for not being able to answer all of them on the call itself. Please write to us. We have put down our email ID. Write to us, and we'll try to reply to you as soon as possible. Both Vignesh and I will try to reply to you as soon as possible on your questions. But now, without taking any further time, let us move towards the presentations by technology service providers. The first one is by MoneyOne. MoneyOne has been a technology service provider in the AA ecosystem for some time now, and they come with their set of expertise in managing technology for the participants of the ecosystem. Today, for the presentation, we have KP, whom I fondly call as KP sir, and Durga Paul, who is in his team. KP is co-founder CEO of MoneyOne, and Durga is in products. So without taking any further time, sir, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Ruchi. Appreciate it. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Sahmati, for organizing this. Thank you, Ruchi, for bringing the program so nicely forward. And I'm not insisting, but if it's okay, you can unmute, allow me to show my video. But otherwise, we can continue whatever your format and rules of the presentation are. You're muted. Sorry. No, I'm unmuted, but I'm saying the video I'm not able to switch on. But as I said, that's not crucially important, but that's fine. So thank you all. So the TSP is just a short form for technology solutions provider. It's a very broad name to do many things, but we do quite a few things in partnership, but we bring it together to the final stage so that people have access to not just raw data, access to data in any case, but not just raw data. So you can do some analytics on it, and you can simplify the data, and so on and so forth. I just want to broadly dwell on what Ruchi and after her, Harsh, Rumta, everybody said. This is all of us are coming together here, and it's really very encouraging to see near 300 people trying to understand and also perhaps contribute by way of their questions and so on and so forth. The whole idea of account aggregator, which is the bedrock of our discussion, but actually to deliver wealth data, is to democratize the whole ecosystem. When we say democratize, there are two things. One is you have to spread the knowledge. Second is you have to make the products affordable and ready to be taken by people who have not been served, never served, or underserved. That being the case, our presentation and our demo will be substantially slanted towards that objective. So let's go to the next slide, please. Thank you. The one thing that we do want to say is that you need both account aggregation ecosystem and a TSP, any TSP. By the way, we don't mean to sell the company. This is a knowledge sharing session. In case the slides which we picked up in a hurry for this presentation look like we are trying to sell the company, I apologize. This is a knowledge sharing session. There are many respectable, highly capable AAs and money and TSPs in our ecosystem. We just used our names because obviously I need permission to use someone else's name. So therefore, we can go to the next slide because this is talking about substantially our company. Yeah, thank you. So we do take data security very seriously. That's very important. All of us, all the TSPs and all AAs, we do take that very seriously in the ecosystem. And Sahamati keeps a close watch. They do it at several levels, make the policies, make the suggestions, and enable the ecosystem by bringing in appropriate players and partners who contribute to that. So we can go to the next slide. This is not about our company. This is a knowledge session. Thank you. So the data is presented in our use case, at least one example that we're going to discuss with you, is presented in a structured format. We convert everything into a PDF, which is commonly available in every most mobiles, and hopefully we will be able to do this in vernacular languages as well. It will be a combined output of both bank accounts and mutual funds, and the integration will be easy through APIs, and we can give you features based on access control for your team or channel, so that you can in turn take the data and do what you need to do for your segment of the customers. So that's what this whole thing is about, and it gives you an entire end-to-end journey of the customer. That is, a customer comes to you. Let's say, I'm assuming most of you are people who want to provide these services to your customers. So you will be bringing in the customers. We are simply people who enable it using the foundation of AA and then the TSP layer. And then you are the real people who are providing the apps and solutions to the end customers, bringing them in and making them participate in wealth. And by the way, democratizing wealth could mean many things, but definitely at least creating wealth for people who do not have access to it, because it is not only income enhancement, but wealth creation that will really lift the economy, the bottom half of the population. So I think this is, we have my colleague Durga. Durga, if you want to say something on this, I know there are a few things here. I want to bring you in this slide. You can talk about this slide, and then we can go into the demo. I believe this is about the last slide.
Yes, sir. So with AA coming into picture and a lot of wealth managers using account aggregator to get the data, different mutual funds data and so on, equities is also coming on. So with the entire portfolio coming together, this will help wealth managers to reach citizens much easily, and citizens will have access to, everybody now has access to a mobile device, and hence they will easily have access to wealth management platforms as well. So here now I would like to move on to a small demo. So while Vignesh has shown the AA journey, how it will pan out for linking or using mutual funds, accessing mutual funds through AA, I would also like to emphasize here how TSP is going to help. So as a FIU, you would be requesting for mutual funds to your customer. This will mainly happen by adding mutual funds as a FI type either to your existing consent template or consent parameters, or you can raise a new consent, create a new consent template. So what will happen is once a consent template is created and the customer at any time comes to your application to seeking for wealth advisory, they can, this is automatically on their click, the consent request will be triggered. So this is the account aggregator journey. In this journey, the mobile number from the host app can already be passed. The customer will get a OTP to their mobile number. They will link it. In this case, they can select bank accounts, mutual funds as and when new FI types come into the ecosystem. This will get better. So for this particular customer, they are wishing to link bank accounts as well as mutual funds. Now, at the time of discovery, we are already using the PAN number. So the combination of both mobile number and PAN number will be used. They will get a OTP from the respective FIPs. So in this case, it's the bank and the RTA. So KFIN will send a OTP after the PAN number and the mobile number combination is verified. This is a consent template or consent parameters for the wealth management. So Awesome Bank is requesting for data from the customer. Once the customer has approved consent, this could be a periodic fetch where the FIU can get data once a day or monthly basis as per required to provide them for them to provide a solution to the customer. As an output, you can also get analyzed data. So cumulative view of the total, the net worth of the customer. Let's say the bank balance across multiple accounts, the total mutual funds, how their mutual funds were performing across the month, other details as in how it is doing, a portfolio overview, how much investment is done across the sectors. So all this is, while it's available to the customer directly, it will also be available to the FIU, and they can also download the raw data, not just in digital, like in JSON on XML format, but in PDF format as well. So I would like to stop here, and if there's any question.
No. There are, yeah, I think KP is answering some of the questions.
Yes,
Pragati.
Ruchi, if you can switch on my video, I will continue to answer some of the other questions. Typing is definitely a little bit of distraction and difficult. So I will answer some questions, and we can probably go to the next part of the presentation.
I have actually, everybody can start their video. We can see you,
Yeah.
KP, now.
Hi, KP.
Yeah, thank you.
So
yes,
we have,
go ahead, please go ahead.
no, we have about 5 minutes to answer
Yes.
questions. Yeah. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Hi, KP. Omkar this side. Is my voice audible?
Yes, it is Omkar. Thank you.
KP, I just have one doubt. Let's say some persons, there are multiple bank accounts of a particular person. Some have closed down, some he has closed down lately. Or why bank accounts? Let's say there was some FD which has got recently created, some bank accounts which has been recently, terminated or has been stopped. How does that update of that data share across, that account aggregator platform? I mean, if the account aggregator, if the customer is giving consent, what is the guarantee that the exact information will be fetched? I mean, sometimes what happens, I will give a small example, that while I'm trying to use the credit, there is one feature where we can, across the credit score, if you want to see what are the loan accounts or something, you can see that. So one find, long ago, if I had used a buy now pay later account, and that account was linked to a certain bank, it will show that the due is there, even though the due is cleared. The that update doesn't happen. So my doubt is that, whenever change in values or change in bank accounts, in addition of new assets, all those things, how do you tend to update the data for a customer and then you try to show it?
Yeah. So I will answer the question. You asked a lot of details, but I'll give you a reasonable answer for most of them. And if you have further doubts, we can certainly write
Yeah,
to,
give me a brief overview, because that is where the trust factor, is not, because we will say that no, recently this loan has been cleared, but it's not showing. So that trust factor is
मैं
always.
आपको बताता हूँ ओमकार. Thank you very much for the question. So first of all, I would like to make one distinction. When you say how will you update the information, obviously you said it metaphorically. Frankly, but to be accurate, AAs neither update the information nor hold the information nor do anything with the information. AAs are consent managers. We take your consent, we send a consent artifact to FIPs, and we bring the information that is provided by FIPs in an encrypted file. We don't get to see the file, we cannot decrypt it, and then it is delivered to FIUs. That's what happens. So to answer some of the details, whether if a particular account is closed, let me assure you, you will not get any information, number one. And there is no file format or API for an FIP to respond saying that this account is closed. They will only respond with the transaction data account profile, whatever is permitted by the data set published by RBI or REPIT. That is shared by the bank when it is live. If an account is dormant or closed or something else is suspended or whatever, some other status happens to it, that is not shared. And therefore, and the information is updated by and large. By the way, we don't go and hit the core banking system. There is a staging server. Every bank has a slightly different system. Core banking system is never accessed by anybody externally. So that staging server has the latest information. Most of the time it has the up-to-date information. And I can say one comparison may be useful to you. When you log into your internet banking, whatever you see is what you also get through an AA. It is no more, no less. By and large, this is true. So more details, you can definitely write to Sahmati as Ruchi gave the thing. You can also reach out. We are on the web and so many AAs, so all of us are there. Feel free to write to us. We'll certainly go into a little more minute details that you may not have got the answer for. Thank you. And somebody, yeah, go ahead. Sorry. And somebody else has written, do we have an API service? Absolutely, we do have an API service for that. And also, we do. Somebody wrote, can we get anything other than bank data and MF data? Let me say this session is about mutual fund. And banks have been referred to because that's the most commonly available information. But there are about 23 sets of data that have been published by RBI. All of them are available and most of them are now live on the AA ecosystem. There may be one or two here or there which are work in progress. So that will continue to be available. Just simply because mutual fund has gone live doesn't mean that something else is getting stopped. All the data sets will be available.
Of course. Of course, yes. I believe there are no more questions now. There are some questions that are coming on the chat, but I request you all to send us an email. I think, sir, you all can also share your email ID on the chat. If anybody needs any solutions from Money One, can get in touch with Durga or KP sir and take it forward. So thank you so much, sir, and thank you so much, Durga, for showing the solutions that you have for the wealth management industry, and of course other industries at large, other financial sectors at large. Moving on to the second presentation, we have Lightfin Solutions Private Limited. Jagan Rao, who is the CEO of Lightfin, is going to give a presentation on what are the solutions or innovations that they have for the wealth management industry. As far as I know, Lightfin specializes in solutions for wealth management and personal finance management as a sector. So, Jagan, I will not hold you up anymore. Please go ahead and share your screen and present to the audience.
Sure. Thank you, Ruchi. And thanks, Ruchi and Sayamata team for giving us this opportunity. So, good evening, everyone. So let me share the screen and provide more details about what we do. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So as Ruchi mentioned, we are a personal finance management company, and we are a certified TSP under Sayamati. Okay, so what we do is that using the account aggregator system, we consolidate the financial data that's from banks, credit cards, loans, fixed deposits, everything we consolidate to one place. And then what we do is we categorize income and expenses into different buckets. And once we put them in different buckets, so all these are done through the machine learning system, which puts it into different buckets. Then we find the patterns of the income and expenses across months and quarters and years. Then the special thing that we do is providing the personalized recommendations of the income and expenses. So we use the AI and ML models to do that. So it provides the personalized recommendations on how to increase the income and how to reduce expenses. So in a short while, I'll show you our app. I'll show you how the recommendations will look like. So how these recommendations help is that it helps in increasing the savings, how the savings that we are having, and how to reduce the expenses. So that's what we do. So along with that, we do this bank statement analysis and the GST analysis. So, and along with that, we are adding, we are in the next versions, we're adding the GST analysis, the income tax return analysis, budgeting, goal setting, as well to our product portfolio. So what is the model that we have? So we work with the FIPs and FIUs. That's banks, mutual funds, financial advisors, insurance companies, and lending companies. So what is the benefit to the customers? So we are analyzing the data of the customers. So what is the benefit to them? As I mentioned, the recommendations and how it helps, find out where I need to focus on the expenses and the income. That's what it's the benefit to the customers. And what is the benefit to the FIPs and FIUs? The main benefit is, as Vignesh was mentioning, the main benefit that we provide to the FIPs and FIUs is the cross-selling and upselling of the products. So we are analyzing the financial profile. We are providing the 360-degree profile of the customers. Then the recommendations would be pertaining to the mutual funds or the FIUs that actually helps them in cross-selling and upselling, which ultimately helps in revenue growth for the FIPs. That's what we do. And along with that, we also help the FIPs and FIUs in the targeted marketing campaigns, targeted advertising campaigns. So the FIPs and FIUs can run those targeted campaigns, not the generic campaigns. These are targeted, personalized, customized campaigns. So as I mentioned, just quickly looking at the B2C segment, as I mentioned, the 360 degrees profiling and along with that budgeting and also the utility payment trackers and the predictive analytics. So not just doing the analysis of what we are spending and how much we are earning, it provides the recommendations and it is the predictive analytics. That's what we'll do. So quickly showing a mutual fund use case. So how it can work is, say, let's take example of HDFC mutual fund, where it has more than 90 lakh active mutual fund users. So what we can do is Lightfin can be embedded into HDFC mutual funds platform. So the same thing can be done for any FIP or any FIU. So once we do that, for their customers, we are doing the 360 degrees profiling, financial profiling. Then the recommendations would be in terms of the different financial instruments of the FIP or FIU. So take an example of mutual fund itself. So based on the risk profile of the customer or risk appetite of the customers, our recommendations, will provide the things about which would be the best mutual funds to invest. So what would be the risk profile and what would be the kind of average returns? It provides those kind of things. So let me quickly show you the app and show you, how it works. So using the account aggregator system, the customers provide the consent, and post that we are giving the consolidated view of the deposits, the cash, credit cards, loans information. And after that, we have the different analysis. What is income, salary amounts, the comparison between income and expenses. What is the loan analysis? It can be used by the lending companies. So what is the monthly loan analysis and monthly investments? Investments have come down. So as I was mentioning you about the auto categorization, it puts in different buckets and tells for the different time periods how much the customer has spent on different buckets. It gives this kind of detailed analysis of what the recommendation. Let us take example of the first one. So someone is having a monthly surplus of say more than 20-30% of the total income. It says, why don't you park the amount in better interest yielding products? When someone clicks on this, it gives more information about the tools or the instruments where they can. Same thing is expenses. How is this expenses? How is it all this analysis?
We can't.
You're not able to see this. Are you able to see the app?
No, we can't see that. We can't see the demo.
Sorry, just a second. Okay, let me. I think I was on a different window. Are you able to see the app now?
Yes, I guess you have to repeat again because it was not
Yes.
visible since you started.
Yeah, sure. Sorry for sorry for that. Thanks for pointing it out. So as I was telling you, this is the app that we have. It gives a consolidated view of the deposits, cash, credit card information, and loans information. And then it gives the various analysis. What is the income? What is the salary amount? What is the there's a comparison between income and expenses over the last 12 months. What is the monthly loan analysis? What is the monthly investment? So as I was telling earlier, it gives a pie chart of what is the monthly investment in the last 12 months and where I'm like invested less. And I was telling about the auto categorization. So as you can see, it gives a bar graph of the different expense buckets and where I've spent more. So you can find out what is the outgoing transfers, how much I'm spending for EMI, how much I'm spending for travel, investments, miscellaneous. It gives all this information. And it also gives a tabular format of all this information. So if anyone prefers to have a tabular format, they can look at the table. And as I was telling you about the recommendations. So this is the interesting part. So as you can see, it gives the recommendations in this format. So it gives the narration of the recommendations. You click more, you click on this, it gives more information about how to utilize my monthly surplus. Same thing with spend. It says that this month you spent more. Personalized recommendations. It analyzes every variable. So we use more than 100 variables in the bank statements and the investment. Recommendations work. Say someone as in, so as you can see here, in the recent months, the mutual fund investments have come down. So the recommendation says that our analysis has found that you are not having adequate mutual funds recently. So what is that I can do? I click on this, it goes to the recommendations page. So it gives the recommendations. If someone wants to go for, the recommendation says that why don't you park your funds or why don't you invest more? So if someone is like low risk appetite and short term, it gives the options. So I can, for one day, what are the different options? If someone wants to invest for 6 months to 12 months, what are the different options? If someone wants to invest for 3 months to 6 months, what are the best mutual funds? It provides that. Similarly, if someone risk appetite is a little higher and it's for long term, say for moderate risk, what are the top mutual funds? For high risk, what are the mutual funds? And for for very high risk, what is the top mutual fund? So in this way, the recommendations work. The same thing can be done for, there's an example I have shown for mutual funds, but the same recommendations will be provided for fixed deposits and for loans, for credit cards, for personal loans. So as per the requirement, so one, we provide based on the data. The second thing is we can work with FIPs and FIUs and customize it based on their requirement. So the recommendations could be customized for their requirement. So these are the way, Lightfin works. So as I mentioned, the main things are the analysis and the recommendations. So that's what Lightfin does. And let me just quickly go back to the presentation quickly, the final stuff in the presentation. So let me share the screen once again. Okay. The same thing we can do it for banks, and in future we plan to add for the goal setting, the predictive analytics, bill payment trackers, forecasting and budgeting. So these what we intend to do, and so that's about Lightfin. So feel free to ask questions and I'll be happy to answer them. So these are my contact details. I'll put it in the chat window as well.
Will you be sharing this presentation with us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You will have to probably message him and
Sure.
or put in your email ID here so Jagan can share the presentation.
In the chat window, I put my email ID, and let me share my mobile number as well.
Are there any questions for Lightfin? So I believe, Jagan, people will feel free to get in touch with you
Sure.
if there are any questions or anything that's needed for, from Lightfill. So thank you very much for presenting today. With that, we come to the end of our Pragati session for on mutual funds on AA. I do see there is a lot of discussion that's happening in the chat box. There are a lot of questions. Please write to us at info. We will also try to answer these and try to update it when on our website when we update the presentation to our best ability. But if you do need to get in touch with us directly, please write to info@sahamati.org.in. And anything else, any other information that you may need. Our website, like I always say, is a repository of any possible information you can get, you wish to know about the account aggregator ecosystem, about the role of any participants in the ecosystem. Please also access our dashboards that give you a current view of some of the numbers, the consents, the accounts linked, the consent request fulfilled, the number of participants who are there, etc. So please access our website for any information that you may possibly need or write to us. Thank you very much. And we will be holding another such session in the month of August. Please wait to hear from us. Thank you again for an overwhelming response and taking time out on a weekday evening to attend this session. We hope it is useful, and we wish to continue this for the months to come. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks,